Well, let's dive right in. So, today we're talking about conflict resolution.
Yeah, that's tough. That's
Yeah.
not a fun topic.
No, not at all. I think a topic in which can be touchy depending on who you are and how you handle it.
Yeah. When I think of the words conflict resolution, that might seem too uh, professional or too corporate or too um, impersonal.
Mhm.
I think something that could resonate more with people is resolving arguments,
Crucial
crucial
conversations. Yeah.
conversations, and how to navigate uh, challenging things to talk about or
Yeah.
misunderstandings or issues. Have you ever gone through misunderstanding before?
For sure. I mean, come on, we're human. We go through
Really?
misunderstandings all the time.
I thought I thought you were an angel.
Ah, stop
Now
it.
you are.
No, but it's a reality every day in my classroom. No matter how many times I can say directions or
Wow.
give visuals, there's always going to be misunderstandings.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
it's a hard reality.
Yeah. It's so true. I'm already thinking about so many instances in my life that I've seen misunderstandings or an instance where I have made a mistake or someone else has made a mistake and it required further conversation
Yeah,
and the anxiety that causes because you know there's a conversation coming soon.
yeah,
And how could we navigate that anxiety? How could we think clearly when we have a crucial conversation, when we have conflict resolution? That's sort of what we're talking about in today's episode.
yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the first things that I thought about
Hmm.
mentioning is that conflict is normal. Conflict is normal. And you
Yeah,
already started it off. We're human, that's what we experience.
yeah,
I once heard someone say, this is just an example, churches would be perfect if it weren't for people.
mm,
Um, that's just one example. We could say that about so many other things. Um, our jobs, our schools would be perfect if it weren't for us.
right.
And I work in the church space, so that's why I have so many church quotes in mind. But I heard one guy say like, if you ever found the perfect church, you'd mess it up the moment you join it
Yeah, I've heard
because
that.
because we as humans um, mess up and we bring conflict a lot of times ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. Um, I guess this topic is kind of hard to find a starting point because we're not really telling a story. It's more of like maybe some things that we've experienced or tips that we've learned along the way and how to have crucial conversations. We are in no way experts,
Nah.
but we're human and we can always share what we've learned
Yeah.
and share it with others and see how they do.
Yeah, that's good. What is one of the things you've learned throughout this journey of crucial conversations?
I think something that, in all the things that I've learned that has stuck with me, the first one, if you want to have a crucial conversation and if time permits, one, maybe give it time between what happened and your response if you have the opportunity
Yes.
but there's a sweet spot because you can't take too much time. If you take too much time, it's almost like rehashing something that has passed. However, if you have time to think over and you want to have a conversation with somebody, plan out what you want to say.
That's great.
I've heard a friend say it one time that they planned out what they needed to say, just because there was a lot of pressure within the moment, and they wanted to make sure that they, for themselves, got out everything that they wanted to say.
Yeah.
In some moments, that's important. Sometimes you just have to process, your conversation beforehand, but that's something. Plan out what you want to say.
I really like that you're mentioning time. They say time heals all wounds. I don't know if that's really true.
Yeah.
Some wounds seem like they go with you to the grave.
Right.
But time is your friend when it comes to resolving conflict. You said it perfectly. Don't take too long, but it's great to take time. And I wrote down something that involves the same idea of time, which is consult for clarity. So when you're taking time, you've mentioned write down what you want to say to the person, but also consult before you speak to the
Mm-hmm.
person. What do I
Right.
mean by that? So sometimes when there's an argument, we naturally want to be defensive,
Mm-hmm.
or we think we have the best argument. But if it's too soon, we might not have all the facts straight.
It's true.
The adrenaline of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
the emotions of the moment can often cause us to say things that we actually don't mean or say things that just aren't true. And I think when we take time, we use that to consult for clarity. So I thought of sort of three different places we can consult for clarity before speaking to someone. So the first one is with myself. So if I've gone through something and let's say we've been in an argument and I'm ready to talk to you, before I just go off, I need to take time and consult with myself. Did I make a mistake? Am I actually the one who's in the wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I need to consult with myself and process my own thoughts. So that's one of the first avenues we can go to. Here's the second one with others. But you got to be careful because you can't go on Instagram and be like, hey, my wife is mad at me. I need y'all to, let me know if I'm in the right. Nah,
Right.
you gotta find a safe place to consult. So maybe a trustworthy friend, your best friend, um, a teacher, someone you trust, someone who's mature and someone who helps you, understand if you're in the wrong, someone who is honest. And then I also said our third could be God. Um, it is amazing what talking to God can do for us. And maybe someone who's watching this doesn't have that experience where they've talked to God about the things that they're going through. But in my experience, it's been the best way for me to receive clarity when I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through some sort of issue. So, yeah, those are the three places I consult for clarity when I'm taking time leading up to a crucial conversation.
Yeah. That's really important. Um, there was something that you said. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I think it's important that, and this is kind of veering in a different direction, but oh, I remember now. There was two things.
Mm,
But what you said about don't go on social media and start posting it.
yeah.
Social media is not the place to solve a problem. If unless you're looking up ideas for a project, which I always do. Social media helps. But in terms of,
An interpersonal problem.
huh?
You,
And
you
yeah,
wouldn't want to resolve an interpersonal issue online.
right. It is not, it should not be your first step to go to the internet. And I've
Yeah.
had I've had that um I've caught myself typing something in, when you're
For
like,
real?
well,
About me?
not about you, but
I'm just
I
kidding.
dealt with something and I caught myself typing something in on the story, like trying to write something relatable so I could get people on my
Or
side,
even pose like a meme.
or a meme, yeah. And so, but then I caught myself and I said, you know what, this is not the right solution to this.
Sneak dissing online.
Yes, if that's what it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
Something I remember hearing a speaker, I forgot his name, Pastor Horton,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. At Merge
at
Worship at
Merge.
Southern
He
Adventist
he
University.
came in and did a crucial conversation seminar with Campus Ministries, and he mentioned, well, him and Pastor Anna mentioned something about knowing your triggers,
Yeah.
and so I never thought about it that way, but putting it in that context helped me understand the moment you lose clarity, that was when you feel whatever it is. For me, I hear my heart pound in my ear.
Really?
When I get really frustrated or I have tension rising, I hear my heart in my ears. It's very
Yeah.
strange.
Wow.
But knowing that makes me like, you're upset, be careful. This is the time when you need to cool off maybe and take a step back.
Yeah, yeah. That's so
Do you
interesting.
have a trigger? Do you know when?
I've never thought of that. I know that I get quiet.
Yes.
You've seen that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
me. I just get quiet because I'm afraid to say something that I don't mean. Because I haven't consulted yet. I haven't had time go by yet. And so if I feel frustrated about something, I'm just silent.
Right.
And it's not that I want to give a silent treatment. It's just that I want to keep the peace. I I hate not being in peace. I hate those feelings of, man, there's tension in the room, the temperature is rising, and so I just stay quiet. And I understand that everyone is a little different. For some people, when they face conflict, they do what I do, but for others, they want to talk about it sooner because that's more healing. I feel like that's how you are.
Me talk about it sooner.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm the kind of person who wants to resolve the issue immediately, which is probably why I'm the first to apologize.
You are. I can't even lie.
Like I
It's so
I
true.
will say I'm sorry even though I know I had nothing to be sorry for. In any given situation, I'll apologize just because I want the peace.
That's so funny. And I also want the peace, but I won't apologize until I'm ready. And that's so interesting how we both want the same thing. But
We have different ways of handling it
yeah,
and dealing with it. And that comes into play with us being human.
yeah,
When you have a crucial conversation with somebody, they're also dealing with it in their own way, which is
yes,
probably why people clash so
yes.
much.
I heard the other day, on TikTok actually, one of our great sources for information now, of a young person letting other young people know to be patient with their parents because it's also their parents' first time going through this situation.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me because sometimes if I feel hurt about something, I always think, oh, this person's after me. But they're going through the situation for the first time too. And I'm like, oh, no, I need to pack my patience when it comes to those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought about it in that context.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I think something I had written down. I wrote down a
Mm-hmm.
couple of things, but one of them was um, you have to think when you have a crucial conversation. I think it's important to think, what do you want to get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most times, and I'll at least speak for myself. Whenever I've had a crucial conversation, I want some sort of apology for the person to recognize what they did to me, and how they wronged me, which is, you know, what most people want. They want to be right. But sometimes if I slow down and when I'm planning it out, what I want to say when I have that time, I think, you know, I I want an apology, but is that really what needs to come out of this? If we need to figure this out so we can move forward, then moving forward, depending on the circumstance, moving forward should be the main goal out of
Yeah.
the conversation. You're
That's
not
really
you're
deep.
not always going to get what you want out of it, but if you consider the pool of meaning,
You need to define that for me
the
because I've
pool of
heard you say
meaning.
and I don't know what it means.
I don't know how to define it. I just get it.
All right.
But I think it's crucial conversations can be quick and not thought out. So if you are thinking it out, think about the pool of meaning. We're children, we're all children of God here, and we want to solve an issue. Yes, there are times when people hurt you and that needs to be dealt with, but Think about the bigger picture. What
Oh,
needs
okay.
to get done?
Yes. And that makes me think of something I wrote down when it comes to conflict resolution. We got to pick our battles.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be moments where it's worth talking it out with someone, and there's other moments where it's a waste of breath to argue.
That's a good point.
I'll give you an example. We were in the Miami International Airport, and we were in that very, very long TSA line.
They had one TSA line
One
open.
TSA line. This is Miami, so people are in and out, and the line is huge. We're finally towards the front, about to go through the security, when all of a sudden, some people really far in the back are panicking, and they're afraid because they're about to miss their flight.
Yeah.
You and I were on time. We didn't have that concern. They approached us and they said, "Can we go ahead of you because we're about to miss our flight?" What did I say?
Sure.
I said, "Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. We were on time. You know, it's fine. Cool. Go for it." I would want the same thing. But then somebody got so mad at me because I let these dudes um, skip us. The dude got so mad that he made this family go all the way to the back again. And I did the guy yell at me?
Yeah, I mean, it was very passive aggressive.
Yeah. What did he say? I don't really
I
remember.
think it was something on the line along the lines of, "Well, why don't you let me skip you, huh?" I mean, he was
Yeah.
so aggressive, and the airport tension is already high.
Yeah.
The line was so long, but I do remember we got through TSA, and I remember seeing him run because he
Yes.
was also
He
late.
was also late. And so at that moment, when that guy was upset with me and upset with everyone, I had to pick my battle. I could I could have said something to him. I could have defended the situation. There were so many things I could say, but it wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it. And there was a lot going on that day.
There's a lot
Because
going
then
on.
there was a lady in front of us with her two sons who was complaining, and just would say to the person next to her, "You want to skip? You want to skip me? Huh?"
Yes,
And
yes.
I don't know.
She
I
was
think
sassy.
her sons were so embarrassed. You can
They
tell. They were
were.
adults
I felt
too.
so bad for them.
Yeah.
So this is a circumstance where I would say it's not worth going through a conflict resolution session with random
A
people at
random
the
guy,
airport.
yeah.
For me, what you got to do in that moment, you just pray for them. You
I
pray,
mean,
Lord, help them. Lord, help
help
them
them.
see their sins. Father, forgive them,
Help
for
them.
they know not what they are doing.
Yes.
That's all we could do sometimes. But other times, we still pray. But it's also worth having that conversation with the
Yeah.
loved one, with a friend, with a colleague. Um, yeah.
I agree.
Hmm.
You know, I say all this, but for me, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. One, in relation with having crucial conversations with people that matter, even if it's with an important situation, and you're having that crucial conversation, it doesn't always mean that the person on the other side is going to have the same amount of consideration for the conversation as you will.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
Mm.
And it's a reality. It's a harsh reality, which is why everybody should put meaning into crucial conversations. But someone else won't always hold it to the high standard like you. They will spout off. They will want to be right as well,
Yeah.
and that's why we have a hard time with them.
Yeah. Um, it is a challenge. I want to know, once we are in conversation with someone, once we have found a moment to speak with someone, once we've arranged that conversation, what's the best way to go about the actual talk? What are some strategies maybe that you've used that have been helpful when it comes to sharing in that kind of environment?
I don't know if I'm the right person to speak on this because I am the kind of person that will If like I don't want to talk about it. I I personally try and just say, you know what, maybe it wasn't that bad. And then I also am someone who will let too much time pass, and then what? Um but I think you need to go in as calm as possible and remember the person on the other side of that conversation, um and the relationship that you have. If it is somebody that you will be in contact with every day, like us, we have to consider, what we say because
Mm.
we're married. Or if it's somebody that you work with, consider the fact that you will see them every day.
Right, right,
Or a
right.
church member, a friend. Is this really worth losing your friendship over? So keeping in mind the pool of meaning as you step into that conversation.
Yes, that's good.
Um,
So that might refer to the attitude we bring in the
yeah.
conversation, the tone of voice. Um, Something I could think of is I try my best to avoid accusing the person of their intentions
Yes.
because we
Yes,
we
that's a good
never
one.
really know what a person's intention was. So when I feel hurt, I describe what I feel
Mm-hmm.
and I let the person know how the situation has made me feel.
Mm.
I'll never be able to really know their intention, but I'll always know what my heart is going through.
Mm.
And so I'll express that made me feel dumb, or that made me feel unappreciated, or that made me feel like we're not actually friends. Um, Using I feel words, I learned this in college, allows the person to see things from your side as well. Because if you coming in hot, you did this because you this
Yeah.
and you
And people immediately shut down.
whoa, they will shut down, they'll get defensive because
Yeah. Nobody likes to hear
nobody
that.
likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Those I statements are better than you
Yeah.
statements. Um, it's not always easy, but yes, I agree. That's definitely how you
Yeah.
should go in.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
will clarify though, because there are some crucial conversations, and I'm thinking, in all aspects of life, whether it be your your manager somewhere,
Hmm.
or something wrong has been done,
Hmm.
because it's not only just arguing with somebody, it's maybe they have no idea, and you have to bring it up to them, and there has to be a consequence for something. There are times when, yes, you have to have a specific, that's where you think about the pool of meaning. Your goal in mind is, hey, you're doing something wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're, I'm trying to think of the word, but sometimes there is a consequence that comes out of conversations, depending on where you're at,
Yeah.
what the conversation is about. If it's just resolving something with a friend, but sometimes if um, a leader or even a teacher has to um, deal with a situation or approach a situation, there might be some you statements,
Yeah. Yeah.
where, and
Yeah.
that's an entirely different
I see what you mean.
conversation. But when it comes to you're going at it with somebody and you're kind of on the same level with this
Hmm.
conversation,
Hmm.
then I statements are way better than you.
Yeah, but like you said, there are situations where the person did do something wrong, and
Yes.
you should mention that.
Yeah.
You robbed the bank.
Yeah, and that, I feel like you robbed the bank. No, no,
I feel
no.
hurt that you robbed that bank.
Yeah.
Nah, you robbed that bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't right. Good point. I'm curious to know what changes when you have a crucial conversation with somebody who's a child versus with someone who's an adult. As a teacher,
Yeah.
I know you deal with both kids and parents, or kids and colleagues.
Yeah.
Um, what changes in your approach when talking to people of different ages like that?
So really, it sometimes depends on the child. There are some kids where you have to, like, you know, you have to come in a little stronger than others, because
Hmm.
some kids are this is hard.
Hmm.
Some kids have a I'm never wrong, or I run my house. So those kids need more direct conversations.
Some kids might be a little more stubborn.
Yeah, thank you. Some kids might be a little more stubborn.
Yeah.
And so with those kids, you have to be a little bit more firm. And then there are softies,
Hmm.
really, who you just say one thing and they're like, okay, I'm so sorry.
Does it hurt when you see a kid cry?
It's not where
I
we
didn't give you the
putting me
question to
on the
make you
spot.
seem bad or anything. I'm
Um,
just genuinely curious.
it it depends on the situation,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
like if they're like, it sometimes it hurts. Like, I'm like, dang, I made them cry, but it's never my intention. But I know what I
Of
said got
course.
through to them.
Yeah.
And kids are, emotional beings, but sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it can be funny.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that in like the sweetest of ways, because
Yeah.
sometimes kids are funny.
Because they might be over dramatic
Yeah,
about
yeah, they might
something
be over
that's not a
dramatic.
big
Yeah,
deal, and I totally get it.
yeah.
I
How do you
mostly
feel when your church members cry?
yeah,
No.
no, that's what I was gonna refer to. I mainly work with people who are older than I am, and I have had those situations where I see someone crying, and it's such a burden, because I want to fix it for them.
Mhm.
I want to tell them what to do, but often the best thing we can offer a person is just our presence,
Yeah.
um, our our time, our ear, and it is in our nature to want to fix things. But I think of, we're believers, and I think of Jesus and what the Bible says about his approach, how he would hang out with people, he would spend quality time with them, and his presence meant so much. Um, Before he even did a miracle for them, he would be present. He would be a friend. He would um, be close. The Bible talks about that Jesus was filled with compassion when
Mhm.
he would see people with needs. And that compassion, that just love of being present makes a difference. So, yeah, it's hard to see people cry, but I've learned to not try to tell them everything's going to be okay. Not, I mean, yeah, sure, everything probably will turn out okay. But just being there makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had situations like that. I'm not always the cause of the crying.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it's just kids, being kids, and I do feel that sympathy for them because I've been there.
Yeah.
We all went through that. But you asked me earlier, like, between dealing with kids and then their parents,
Hmm.
and with parents, I'm not a parent, and there's a lot I have to learn about being a parent. Sometimes I do feel like I parent kids, in some ways, because as a teacher, you have to correct behavior. I
Hmm.
teach them, just like parents teach their kids new things, I teach them new things. I have to deal with their behaviors, and if they, um, talk poorly to a friend, or, stuff like that. But when you approach a parent about their child, you have to be so careful.
Yeah.
We in one of my classes, behavior management, it, you talk about the compliment sandwich, and
Hmm.
sometimes I feel like parents can detect it. But basically, you share a good thing about their kid, the what's really going on, and then another compliment, and then they should have forgotten the bad thing that you said. It's not really the reality, but
Hmm.
parents don't like to hear bad things about their kids, and sometimes even, side with their child. But they're sensitive because it's theirs.
part of their life.
Yeah, it's their child, and so with parents, you have to be extra careful and
Yeah.
take extra care and really think about the pool of meaning
Yeah, 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 yeah.
when it comes to having those crucial conversations if there's something going on in the classroom.
I have learned that the most successful conflict resolution sessions are the ones that have friendship behind it. I have seen crucial conversations go down really poorly because prior to that conversation, there was no relationship.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, I went to church and I wore a baseball cap inside the church. And during the prayer, I kept my baseball cap on.
Ooh.
I know. I didn't know that it was a disrespectful thing. I was just wearing my baseball cap because I had a bad hair day. I couldn't get a haircut. And so I was just wearing my baseball cap. I wanted to look presentable. But an older person from my church, I was a teenager, approached me at the end of the service and said, "You are not to wear a baseball cap in the church. That is so disrespectful towards the church and towards God. Don't do that again." When that man said that to me, I thank God that I was able to stay chill. I've always been a chill person, but that made me so upset. And guess what? I kept wearing my baseball cap. Maybe I was in the wrong at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah,
But also, if a person who I felt like actually cared about me was the one who had made that comment, I probably would have never brought a baseball cap to church again. But the source of the consejo, the source of the advice, if it isn't backed up with relationship, it's gonna go down so poorly.
right.
And I've seen parents struggle with advising their children because their children don't feel like their parents really
Are their
are their friend.
friends? Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, parents are not supposed to be one of your little friends. But at the same time, I think a child should see that my parent loves me not only for the sake of teaching me how to do right, but loves me as someone who they want to spend quality time with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's that parents and children should have some sort of relationship, a parent-child relationship.
Yeah.
It's hard to think that we can only say, "Oh, they're not friends, but kind of friends." Like, no, a child-parent relationship. Yes,
Yeah.
they're there to guide, but also talk to your kids,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so that they will turn to you when they need help.
Yeah. And it's not just friendship between parents and their children, spouses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In the workplace, I think what we do leading up to a crucial moment is crucial itself. All the behind the scenes, all the intentionality,
Right.
so that if something ever does come up, they know that it's from a right place that you're
Yeah.
bringing it up to them.
I have a situation kind of similar to that. Um, usually a parent will contact me about something that they heard their child say that is going on in the classroom. And so many things happen. As much as a teacher will try to, see everything, there's just some things that are said that a teacher doesn't hear. And so once I found out that a situation was going on and that the parent wanted to meet with me, the the hours in between that text and the meeting were crucial.
Okay.
And so I started interviewing kids. I was like a
Yeah.
detective.
Yeah.
I was like, "Sit down. Tell me what's going on. What do you know about this?"
Yeah.
And I got the full story.
You consulted for clarity.
I consulted for clarity
Yeah.
and even got a different story out of the kid
Wow.
who originally brought it up. So when the parent came in, and I made sure that I also had my principal in the meeting as well. I was like, here's what I got. Da, da, da. And I just gave it all. I had it planned out, written out, and after that, the mom just went to her kid. but but what you're saying, that
Yeah.
time in between, um, you know, when like something happens and when you need to have that crucial conversation is
Yes.
important.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's really great. We're in the last few minutes of this.
Yeah.
Honestly, last few seconds. I think we've passed 30 minutes. I more or less have been looking at the time, but kind of haven't.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah. I'm tripping. But anything that you feel like we're missing before we end this?
I think just to reiterate, prayer is always good, and it's definitely difficult to have conversations, crucial conversations with people who also don't consider you. Um, but I think if we all take a personal responsibility to do our part to make sure that we are using self control and we are trying to have the best outcome, if we all try and do that, I think we can have better communication.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, this has been a really great topic.
Yeah.
I think this past weekend, at the youth conference we went to, they talked a lot about love and forgiveness. And so it's such a relevant topic.
Right. And
Yeah,
there's so much more we didn't even talk about. I mean, people
yeah,
write books on this stuff.
yeah,
But this is just us bringing what we know, what has worked for us, and maybe other people have things that might help as well.
yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your
Yeah, thank you
what has
too.
worked.
Thanks.
So, by the way, we're going to Miami pretty soon for a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
And I hope we can film an episode out there. Not during the
On the
wedding.
beach.
Oh, on the beach. That'd be cool. I was just thinking in the backyard.
Oh, in the backyard.
In the backyard. All right.